Identity. Understanding of the notion of intersectionality. Hi, my name is Ruby Messina, and I will be increasing awareness of various social identities, starting with me. Parts of my identity I least identify myself with are race and physical and mental disability. Parts of my identity I most identify with are nationality, ethnicity, as well as spiritual affiliations. Social classes that I belong to are education, as well as physical and mental abilities or disabilities. My sex and gender is female. I am a she, her, hers. Do I perceive sex and gender a difference in between terms? I do. I do see difference based on preference versus perception. I describe my sexual orientation as well as sexual identity as one. I am female, thus I am born and lead in my identity or my perception of who I am as heterosexual, so straight. But with that being said, I am more also dominant, and therefore I am much more expressive between two lines, especially in the arts. Due to being mixed or coming from different ethnicities, as well as first generation, as well as race as first and second generation. So there have been deformities. I am a little deaf on my left side of my ear. I am also vision impaired. I don't normally wear my glasses, so I am 90% walking on earth blind. That's because I also didn't start wearing glasses until I was almost a senior in high school about 12 years ago. So it's still fairly new to me. And also I do dance and I am very active in the arts. So I don't like anything to be on my face. I don't like to feel dragged or heavy. So I am consistently walking this path where I have to use all my senses, as well as, again, with mixture of deformity. I also have a sinus deformity as well, but I use breathing techniques to guide me. I use other sounds to guide me. I use a lot of peripheral vision to guide what I can see through shadows. So I use my outsources to sort of guide me, and I'm learning and training. How has it impacted my worldview? It has humbled me a lot. I've already grown up to become this person, and with certain senses that are not there 100% of the time, I have to see it as it is, and it does come with but it's also gearing me up to be more perceptive and be on my toes in circumstances that I can't be there. It has made me see the world differently, much more in color, which is pretty rare in the sense that most people would see it as black and white, especially if not all their senses are there. So for me, it has tainted imagery of color in my mind, and it has helped me evolve myself personally, to build an identity as well in the arts and the way I communicate through what I love to do, and also how I take these notions of what I see or how I sense to incorporate that into the material I work with. And I use that as well to guide others in my way of motivating them. And also it has strengthened my spiritual connection, not towards my religious or spiritual affiliations, but towards my spiritual persona. My first language is Italian. I speak Italian, Spanish, English, French, and I also understand some Portuguese, and I can read Portuguese. In my environment, I do use most of my languages. I speak English every day because that is what I'm used to with going to school in America and connecting with other people around me. When I am at home, though, I speak Italian with my father, who is more Italian prominent, and I speak Spanish with my mother, who is more Spanish affiliated. My mother's from South America. She's from the Caribbean. She barely touches the continent of South America, and she's right in between all of the Caribbean islands. So her Spanish is much more defined and derived from Spain, from the old language of the Spain connection. And with that being said, I do speak with her Spanish, but when I speak with other Hispanic persons in the west of the USA, things become a little contradicting based on the Spanish that I grew up with. So there are some terminology that I pick up and I don't quite understand from others around me. So I do ask a lot of questions about what does this mean and how do you use that, due to the fact that most of our West is connected to Central America, and their Hispanic language or Latin language is a little bit more slang and different from the Spanish I grew up with. So a lot of the Spanish I do speak at home is mostly with my mom, and when I do speak Spanish outside, I use the Spanish I grew up with to communicate, but it does not translate very well. But I am fluent in Spanish. I can read, write, and speak. I'm also fluent in Italian. My Italian comes from the southern region, the island of Sicily, which is very Mediterranean. I have to go back and revise my Italian speaking because of improper words or old words that are no longer defined, and thus I merely speak it at home unless I am overseas and I have to use that communication, but it's very fluent. And I can understand it very well. French is a little rare for me to speak at home because of the two other Latin languages that I communicate with. So I typically try to find friends that do speak, and we write to each other, and I can read and understand it very well. Portuguese, on the other hand, is also another rare. more rare for me, being that I am living more Western in the Americas, and it's harder to communicate with someone that is Portuguese and their language is a little bit faster. I would have to say, especially if they're coming from South America. So I would have to say for me, it's a little more elementary. I can read it, I can understand words, but as far as speaking is a little difficult. Do I study other languages other than the ones I know? Do I take time out of my time now that I'm older to understand other languages? I do. I'm always curious about communication. I have also asked neighbors of mine to communicate with me in their language to see if I could understand their language. I learned how to write my name in Japanese and tried to understand the fluidity of that, and as well as understand how other languages work, as well as Chinese and Korean. But other than that, French was the only one that was more effort based on education that I took outside of the norm, and it still consists as one of those that I am still progressing in because of lack of speaking. And other than that, that's about the only language. My religious affiliation is Roman Catholic. What I believed growing up was the notion of prayer, consistent prayer, confirmations, consistency in confessions, and consistently being joined with the community to praise and to honor and to respect. So growing up for me was going to church every single day, practically. I was baptized at the age of 2.5, 3 years old. So I was already put in religion because I needed to be, based on my parents and upbringing. So I became a catechist as well as a youth leader in my foundation. Where is my religious affiliation now? Like mentioned before, based on my senses and having to develop a new understanding of myself as I grew in age, I became much more open to religion. I've taken world religions, and I've also taken cultural diversity in dance, and it includes religion. So cultural diversity of dance and religion. And with having to take these courses, it was a life-changing experience for me because I had to participate in various religious backgrounds to be able to understand and also research their religious affiliations and afflictions. So I participated in a Buddhist temple community analyzing Buddhism, and I also did that for Judaism, and I did that for Catholicism, Methodist. I sat through a Christian, Protestant service, and with my relationships as growing and friendships, I also had to participate in other religious affiliations, whether it's a baptism, a Christian Protestant baptism, a Methodist baptism, a Baptist baptism, and I've also sat through services as well. And being such a wide worldview, I took a whole other understanding of what the worldview and form of religion really is. It's been a connection with other people. I've utilized that as to connect with other people as well, and it's really defined who I am and my understanding later, also in the arts, because I do utilize certain aspects into what I put into in my craft and my creations as well. And that's helped me when I took cultural diversity of dance. I had to learn various cultural dances, and as well as the religious aspect behind it, where it came from, how that is implemented into religion, and how it communicates today. So it was a way for me to take note of how similar we are as people, and it also added to my humbleism. I am a faithful Roman Catholic, but I do not practice 100% Roman Catholicism. I practice my own self-being. I pay attention to my energies and to my will, but if I feel that I am out of my norm, I will still go through the rituals I need to go to as a Catholic, because I was baptized as a Catholic. I don't feel the sense to ever trade that, even though I was not the one who chose my religion, but I would never convert into another religion. But I feel that I am accepting of other religions. So I'm always able to implement things that I feel that are in tune with me and that I can take a positive energy out of and take it with me in that respect. But I would not change my title because yes, I did not choose to be Roman Catholic. It was chosen for me, but for me, religion is the same. It's a way where you can escape and you can connect with someone that may be similar to you. And as long as it's positive and it's gearing you in the right perspective in your life and you are humbled by it, that is all that matters to me. So that's where I stand today. I am a faithful Roman Catholic, or loyal, but I am not, I don't live by it 100%. Did I go to public or private school? I chose to go to public school growing up. My parents actually wanted to put both my sibling and I in a private school, but I was already taking private school through my church on the weekends. So I went to school every day, Monday through Sunday. And with going through private school on the weekend, I wanted to go to public school during general days because I wanted more freedom. I didn't want to wear a uniform. I've always grown up with this sense of rebellion in me, and it's also portrayed into my art. So thus, going to both public and private school has changed my worldview. It just proved to me that some restrictions are to be valued, and some restrictions are just pointless. What is the educational background of my parents? Well, my father went to a 4-year university overseas, and he went for the full 8 years. So he has a doctorate's degree in law, as well as minored in literature, Latin, and in other various careers. And my mother, she graduated from a college as a photographer. She was artistic, wanting to learn more, becoming more educational or knowledge hungry. But growing up, it was forced because having that expectation meant that it was the progression needed in the growth. But also being so young and not understanding the concept, it was a little bit difficult being forced into making such decisions. But for me, it did guide me through high school, eventually through college, jumping into a career, and now back to progressing in college to be able to progress more into my career flow. So with that being said, there was a lot of expectations. The career choice of mine was not the favorite of most in the family, thus coming from family members that have a law background, have a political affliction, or even becoming service. So there was a lot of expectation, and I am a dance major and have been involved in nothing but the arts and in entertainment. So that for me was never seen as a good thing. Again, with expectations, was to be in more business affiliation. So my school before this, I was in business entertainment. It was what I chose, to be more close to business. And realizing that now, reasons why I am back in school and progressing into dance, because I did take dance as my minor, and now I have shifted gears for myself now that I am much older and much more open to who I am. I was born overseas, but I grew up in Southern California. I come from a city called Fullerton. Fullerton used to be a very small communal town that hosted many plantations, orange plantations, lemon plantations, you name it. Now it has sprung into a full-blown city, an urban area right in the midst, next door to Anaheim, and right down the street from Disneyland. So with that being said, there have been a lot of changes that I have seen and noted growing up. Between Fullerton and Anaheim, you have Buena Park. And on the other side, you've got Brea and La Habra, you have Whittier, and then there's that whole Santa Ana area. Now, we all heard the rumors. It's no different from LA. Now, maybe so. Things have changed, things have modernized, and things look much cleaner. But growing up for me was a little bit different. A lot of it had to do with race, a lot of it had to do with gender, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that no one knew what to do with certain people, certain individuals. The geographical divisions in these regions include Hispanics, more central, black, and white privileged, as well as white unprivileged. Another major division includes in the geographical aspect includes a lot of Asians, more so Korean as well as Chinese. Because of the diverse groups being so close to Los Angeles County meant that a lot of younger folks that did go to school in the districts of Los Angeles County, if they did not meet the requirements, or if they did disrespect any of their schools, they would get kicked out of their school, and then eventually get kicked out of the district. A lot of those students eventually ended up in the Orange County area between Buena Park, Fullerton, Anaheim, Santa Ana, etc. Those areas noted did bring gang members, mostly racial gangs, and territorial, as well as race. So there were race conflicts between Hispanics and Blacks, and there was conflicts between whites and Blacks. And finally, there was conflicts between Asians and other kinds of Asians. So ethnical disrespect. Now it is a community where all blended cultural and as well as all various kinds of races come together and have brought peace. Most of the Brea, Yorba Linda area, La Habra consist of prominent Asian or white upper hand, as well as Newport and most of the beachy areas. Huntington Beach consists of the more lower class of the white. And then we've got the most prominent lower class of the Asian. Well, not most, but definitely a mixture in the Garden Grove area. Because of such diversity throughout the years, it has brought different conflicts, and the mixture of concerns has developed into another LA. Was my family fixed or nomadic over the course of my lifetime? Ooh, that's a good one. They are more nomadic. We did spend a lot of my childhood traveling, and we still travel. Now that I'm much older, I do things on my own. In retrospect to my business, my career, job, even having to visit relatives and family. Gender roles in my family. Growing up, the women did most of the load of cleaning, laundry, and even dressing us. The women did most of that. The men did most of the fixing as well as gardening. Although my grandma did do some gardening as well. So that part was kind of shared. Now that I'm much older, there has been a gender role switch where I see my dad cleaning sometimes and washing dishes. Growing up, my father was the one who was mostly working out, and he's always kept his office in his home. So he would work from home and have to go out to the post office or whatever from home. He's owned his own business. He doesn't practice law as much, but he does utilize it. He's gone to hearings, he's gone to court appointments, and he practices for his own. He's also he also owns property, so he has to go out to go check the property, etc. My mom, on the other hand, she's always been a home mom until maybe 5 years growing up. She was working for a company that would make chips or batteries for aerospace engineers, as well as phone companies, etc. It was short for her. Unfortunately, she is disabled. She did work in photography for a little bit, but then things took a toll because she was more focused on my brother and I. Were siblings of different gender preferred or treated differently? Growing up, I would have to say yes. My brother was treated different, being a male and being 3 years younger than me. He was the youngest, but also he was the one that most needed attention. I was much quieter growing up. I just did my own thing. I had my own friends, and my brother was a little bit more energetic in the sense that he wouldn't listen. He would venture out with friends, not knowing what he was doing wrong, and it wasn't like he wasn't troubled, and it wasn't like he was in trouble. He was being misguided, and he would never really get in trouble for it. So I did feel that there was a sense of difference in treatment versus me hanging out with a couple of friends after school before going to after school programs or dance lessons or our company or whatever, and then just sticking around and having a conversation was me getting yelled at. That was a little different for me growing up. I never really understood it, and I still really don't understand it. But I, as being the eldest and being female and pretty level-headed, I am seen different from others' perspective in the family, like aunts and uncles as their favorite. So it just depends where it's being observed from. Have I ever lived, studied, or traveled abroad? No. In my household, growing up, it was always mother, father, grandmother, and brother. That's it. Later on, it became mother, father, brother, and now it's mother, father, and that's it. So our family has downsized. Most of our family are overseas. There's still scattered family members that come from who knows how many generations down. How did I end up in Vegas? I originally wasn't going to come to Vegas. I was going to stay in California due to work, etc., especially in my field. But I decided to take my parents' advice. My siblings were moving out here, and I was told that UNLV had the best modern program, and at the time I was taking a lot of modern technique in dance. So I decided, I would love to come here. This university was actually one of my listed universities when I first was applying into colleges after high school. But unfortunately, I had gone to, I got accepted into Cal State Fullerton, Oregon State University, and the University of California, Los Angeles. So I ended up just going to Cal State Fullerton, or California State University Fullerton, because it was literally 15 minutes away from me. Intentionally, I wanted to go to Oregon State, and my folks and I had a debate about me moving by myself. So I knew that if I were to apply at University of Nevada, Las Vegas at the time, it was going to be a no. And now, as I'm older, I'm glad that I did it and I'm here. And it's one of the reasons why I'm here. Also, to expand my brand. I have brands that I do promote, and myself as well, artistically, having to sell yourself realistically. So it's a good way to also learn about a different environment. It's still coming from two different urban areas. So the environment is a little different, except for being in that downtown and having to see traffic a different way. Even the traffic culture is a little bit different. So having to get used to living in that different urban world. What did I eat growing up? During the weekdays, my grandma did most of the cooking, and it was a lot of pasta. We ate a lot of pasta of all kinds. Pasta with sauce, pasta with broccoli, pasta with oil, pasta with butter, I remember one time she accidentally made pasta with ketchup, thinking that the ketchup bottle was actually tomato sauce. So it was literally pasta. It's a lot of carbs. And with that, my dad actually had really high carbohydrates. So we ate a lot of pasta. I was a cereal fanatic. I used to have a collection. I used to collect the boxes and cut them out and make a collage out of them. It was pretty intense. And I did drink a lot of milk. Growing up, I did have a lot of trouble eating. I would eat a lot of soups because I would get really sick from the foods I would eat. I was really sensitive with what I was intaking, and I still have that situation as I'm older, so I have to be careful with what I eat. And if I get food poisoning really fast. Let's just say that. That's how sensitive I am. What were my favorite activities growing up? I had so many favorite activities. I was very active. Growing up, elementary school, we had dance practices. I would also be taking dance outside of school. So we would have to rehearse after school to get ready for Monday mornings to perform. But during school hours, our PE was it was very diverse. Our PE consisted of running. We would run miles. We would stretch out. We would rotate throughout the week in different physical activities. One day it would be social dancing. The next day it would be learning how to hopscotch or jump rope. And then the next day would be handball or tetherball. The next day would be foursquare or dodgeball. And then the last day, typically a Friday, we would have some kind of sport like basketball, soccer. So after school program for me is Boys and Girls Club. I would do my homework. We would get snacks after snack time. We would clean up. And then, so my day actually consisted of first hour was arts and craft or music. Second hour, I would be in some kind of leadership conditioning program, which whether it's learning the use of money, how to save, or leadership, team leadership, Keystone. And then the last hours would be whatever you wanted to do. So for the last hours, I would either be on the jungle gym. What else did I do? Oh my gosh, so many. I was really active. I was really active in the sports. And before closing, I would get picked up and have to go to the dance studio by the time we had night classes for 60 minutes, sometimes 45 to 60 minutes. And as I got older, it became a little over 60 minutes. And then also as I got older, I got more active into volunteering and coaching, both dance, cheer. How do I describe my race and ethnicity? Do I see them different? Great question. As I mentioned in my introduction at the beginning of the semester, I classify myself as 2 or more races or other due to the fact that I am multi-ethnic, as well as first and second generation in race. I think with this course and also with the African American Studies course that I am taking along with Women's Studies has taught me that it's making me see a new light to my identity, which is still similar. I now consider myself Mediterranean and Caribbean, for that same reason, because I was born in the Mediterranean, and my roots lie Caribbean, thanks to my mother and father. So with that being said, I do see them similar now. Before I don't really see race specifically. I think it's a nuisance. We aren't different. We all bleed the same. I believe that we all bleed the same. We all are the race called the human race, because there are other species on this planet, such as primates, such as birds, different qualities of birds, insects, canines as well. So because we're sharing races with others, I don't see color between, I don't see that classification between other people, whether it's black, brown, white, yellow. I don't know what that is. I see Asian people and they don't look yellow to me. They look like people. I see black people to me and there's so many different shades. What is considered black? I know so many Caribbeans that they will tell you that they are light skin, but in reality they are caramel dark. And I'm wondering what light skin is to me then, because I am technically multi first and second generation, and I am much more yellow than an Asian person is considered to be yellow, and I am much more white than a black person can consider themselves black. And because of that, because I've had to understand where my roots and my tradition come from, I can't see that different from anyone else. I just can't see it different. I can see difference in language, because communication is always the key ideal thing you want to understand, to be able to understand another person. And that for me is a little bit more of a conflict than race. Now, when it comes to ethnicity is more so of where you come from. Those are roots that incorporate language. Those are roots that incorporate tradition, and it's bringing other cultural aspects from that tradition into the equation. So it is different if you think about it that way. But now seeing from my perspective, and more so narrowing down who I am as I'm taking these courses, they are much alike than they seem, because again, me classifying myself as Mediterranean in my ethnic aspect, when my nationality is Italian, or but I was born on an island that is Italian, and that island has no closeness to what is northern Italy, and it sits in the Mediterranean. And in the Mediterranean, you have the Greeks, you've got Egyptians, you've got Africans, you've got a boatload of people that come from different ethnic groups. And then there's the Caribbean aspect, where you've got a blend of Afro-Latinos, and then you've got your French African or Afro-Caribbeans, and then you've got your Hispanic indigenous, and then there's all these other influential people in there, and then you wonder where these roots come from. So for me, it's all the same. I can't see race, and the ethnic value behind it is similar. So I have narrowed down myself and who I am based on this concept of ethnicity and race without seeing it from a different color, if that makes sense. Hi, my name is Ruby Messina, and I have addressed my understanding of intersectionality.